If I'm audible now, I have told you the last class we have told you about all the questions that come with the most common case in MBBS, that is gallbladders. Today I think we'll be starting with abdominal lumps and then proceeding to talk about jaundice, and then with the last of the cases that will be gastric outlet obstruction. So today we start with abdominal lumps. With initiation in the last of the classes, I have told you about the 9 regions of the abdomen. I have told you about the 4 quadrants of the abdomen, and I have told you about the 3 regions, etc. So with this, we start with the first of the day with how to describe or say a diagnosis in a patient with an abdominal lump. Now, when I talk about an abdominal lump, remember the examiner is asking you what is your diagnosis. Your diagnosis is always in 3 points: 1, 2, 3. Line point number 1, which area of the abdomen is the lump? That means right upper quadrant is an example. The second one is, what is the nature or what is the pathology in concern? Mane, benign or malignant. Lastly, what is the organ in concern? Some people change sequence number 2 and sequence number 3. So example, if a patient has a gallbladder lump, the description will be a 48-year male, right upper quadrant lump, gallbladder lump, benign in nature, and query mucocele. Now the last point, or point number 4, the exact clinical pathology is something that you may say if you are clinically very confident about your diagnosis. There are examiners who like to talk about this diagnosis only. What is your diagnosis? Mucocele. If you are very confident, then you can directly say the diagnosis. If you are not confident, please remember the rule 1, 2, 3 that I have told you. What we have seen in exams or as an examiner is that students get to hear a diagnosis from the PGT dadas that this was a gallbladder lump or a mucocele. In reality, the PGT mistook that patient with another one. What was technically not a gallbladder lump, may have been a colonic lump, is mistaken by the student, and he says that mucocele, sir, mucocele. And that technically means you are directly going to fail. Long case, remember, has 40 marks out of 100. So failing in a long case is not a very happy thing to have. And usually long case has 20 marks of operative combined, so 60 marks. So please understand that this is a tricky situation. Abdominal lumps are not always very clear cut. It is good to say in this layer diagnosis rather than talk about one diagnosis. So I hope I have made my point clear. If you have any queries to ask, please ask
Sir, you are
me
not
now.
audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please check your internet connection, sir. Okay, right.
স্যার এরকম
So
কোয়াড্রেন্টে বলতে হবে, যেমন রাইট নাম্বার লেফট নাম্বার এভাবে বলবো না।
exactly. No, sir. That is your choice.
আচ্ছা, যে
When
কোনো
you come,
বলতে পারি।
that is your choice. I prefer quadrants, as I've told you in the last class, because I feel right hypochondrium is a small space, right iliac fossa is a small space. Okay, So if you have no queries, we come with the first of the cases. The first of the cases to talk about are lumps in right upper quadrant. Now, whenever you have a lump in a right upper quadrant, remember that what are the organs in concern, or the examiner will ask you, what is your approach to any lump abdomen? We start with the right upper abdomen. The rest of the lumps are going to take much less time. What is your approach to any lump in the upper abdomen or any abdomen, any abdominal lump? So number one is a history that I take, and this history is focused on the various organs that are there in this area. Now, when I talk about the right upper part of the abdomen, like this, what are the organs that will be here in this area? Common sense, the organs in concern will be liver, gallbladder, maybe the right hepatic flexure or the right colic flexure. Sometimes it can be the head of the pancreas. Well, we can also have the right kidney. So all the histories that we take have to concentrate on these points. Have I made the point clear, sir?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, so this is the history. After we have made the history, when you go for an abdomen examination,
Sir, isn't kidney a retroperitoneal organ, so it will have abdominal lump?
sir, abdomen has two parts, intraperitoneal, retroperitoneal. We're going to talk that. Think about, before we talk about retroperitoneal, intraperitoneal, we're going to come. The first point is you have not touched the patient. Sir, you have not touched the patient. You are taking a history. History. You have not touched the patient. When you touch the patient and complete your abdomen examination, the first thing to determine whether the lump is parietal and intra-abdominal. Now remember, I've told you about right upper quadrant lump. This rule, the first rule, is applicable to all. How to know it is parietal versus intra-abdominal? This test that you distinguish is called as leg or head rising test. Now, this test is mistakenly called in an MBBS examination by Carnet's test, which it is not. What is important in this finding is you tell the patient to either raise the head or tell the patient to raise the leg straight. What is the observation then? The observation is that if it is a parietal lump, it is prominent, P for P, and if it is an intra-abdominal lump, it is less prominent. Exam question: if the lump is arising, now understand the picture. If the lump is arising from a organ in the abdomen, say for example, this is the intra-abdominal organ. So as it is intra-abdominal, what is the mobility, or what is the, when you palpate that lump, what is the status of this lump? It is less prominent. Whereas if it is a parietal lump, parietal mane, what does the word parietal mean? Parietal mane above the abdominal wall. Okay, so this is abdominal wall. So if it is a parietal lump, what is going to happen to the parietal lump, sir? It is going to be prominent. Have you completed writing? Please tell me when you have completed writing, then we'll proceed.
Completed.
Completed, na? Very good. Now, to get an good marks in exam, examiner tells you that, okay, sir, you are a good student. Let me ask you a difficult question. Can you name any lump in abdomen that can arise from the muscles of the abdominal wall and is felt as a lump in abdomen, or is felt as a lump? Abdomen will be not a very accurate word. Can you name any pathology where there is a lump that is arising from the abdominal parietes or abdominal wall?
Hematoma.
Okay. Better called as which hematoma, sir? Gynecologists have this commonly: rectus, sheath, hematoma. Okay, and can you name, so this is a benign disease, very good. Can you name me a malignancy of the abdominal parietal wall? Starts with the word D.
Desmoid tumor.
Desmoid tumor. This is an honors getting answer. Is seen usually in females, particularly on a scar of surgery, example is cesarean scar, and these tumors are known to have a very high chance of a recurrence. Okay.
Desmoid মানে কি? অনেক জায়গায় দেখেছি
The
কিন্তু
word
কোনোদিন
desmoid means, the word desmos means hard like a rock. It technically means deposition of fibrous tissue. Desmoplastic reaction is a hard rock-like state due to fibrosis. Okay, so this is about the word rectus sheath hematoma and desmoid. Now the question, sir, is what will happen to these lumps if you go by the head rising and leg rising? What do you think will happen to these lumps? This is an honors question. If this is happening in these cases, will
The
this be
prominence change
prominent?
হবে না.
It is prominent, but what is important is if it is in the subcutaneous tissue, the lump is mobile. If it is in subcutaneous tissue, the lump is mobile. Lump is mobile. Lump is mobile and prominent. If it is in the parietal wall, it is prominent, not mobile. This is an important first difficult question that you are required to know. Have I made you understand this?
স্যার
Can you repeat?
Okay. If it is arising from the yellow colored structure, what is this yellow colored structure that I have drawn? This is the subcutaneous fat. If there is a something lump that arises from the fat, say for example a lipoma, fibroma, what is going to happen to that? That is going to, so what is the test that you have done? What is the test that you have done? What is the test that you have done?
Leg rising.
It is called leg rising or head rising test. What is the other name for this test in exam, which is not a correct thing to say, is Carnet's test. This is not exactly the Carnet's test, but still in MBBS chal jata hai. Okay. What is the finding if it is an intra-abdominal lump?
Less prominent and not mobile.
Very good. And what is the finding if it is a parietal lump?
Prominent
It
and
is
mobile.
prominent. Prominent and mobile, provided it is in which tissue plane?
Subcutaneous.
But if it is arising from the parietal wall, like a muscle hematoma, then it is prominent, but it is not mobile. Okay. So this is the first test. For your MCQs in gynecology, you are required to know the name of a sign called as Fothergill sign. I am not going to tell you what is this sign. You are required to search the name of this sign. What is a Fothergill sign? If you have completed, please tell me, then we'll proceed. Done?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
parietal lump can be of two types, একটা subcutaneous plane থেকে একটা parietal wall থেকে।
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
ফোদার
Right.
কোনটা বললেন?
In a rectus sheath hematoma. Have you been taught in gynecology about a Fothergill sign? Have you been taught about
Sir,
Fothergill sign?
শুনেছিলাম but ভুলে গেছি।
Or what is a Fothergill's triad? Please look into this in gynecology. Okay, what is a Fothergill sign? Okay, right. Yes, sir. Some questions, please.
Sir, the intra-abdominal lump will also can be mobile, right?
Yes, intra-abdominal lumps are in this part. We have not tested the mobility as of yet. Is it prominent? Not prominent. Make it very simple. Prominent, less prominent. We'll learn about mobility very quickly now by the next test. If it is less prominent, where is the lump present? The lump is present in the peritoneal or the abdominal cavity. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sir,
Right. Yes, sir.
so leg rising test এ তাহলে মোবিলিটিটা বোঝা যাবে না তো, মানে আপনি যেটা বললেন
No,
lump
no,
is
no, no,
mobile
no.
and
Intra. So leg rising test is you ask the patient to raise the leg or the head, not both, and then you palpate the lump and try to move the lump. If the lump is prominent, try to move the lump. If it is prominent and mobile, that means it is in subcutaneous tissue. If it is prominent, not mobile, that means it is in abdominal wall. If it is less prominent, what does it mean? It means it is intra-abdominal. Okay.
okay, sir.
Have I made this point clear?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
sir,
Mm-hmm.
sir, to rise both leg and head or either any
No,
of
no,
them?
no, no, no. Come on, man. I told you. Why will you? The basic idea is to make the rectus sheath prominent. Either in the upper abdominal lump, you tell the patient to raise the head. In the lower abdominal lumps, you tell the patient to raise the leg. Please don't tell the patient to do both. Okay, chalo. Now, when you come to intra-abdominal lumps, the only test that you need to understand is a test called as knee elbow test. Now, I personally do not do this test, but if I tell things, it will be more confusing. So I will tell you things which are taught in MBBS across India. Knee elbow test is, I do not know whether in this virtual world, what is this knee elbow test? Now, this is how the patient is. I hope you understand the meaning of knee and elbow. Now, the question is, in this state, there is an abdominal lump. Please remember this one. So in this test, there is an abdominal lump. And what I will like to do again is that I will again like to draw the patient, and I will again like to draw the patient with this knee and the elbow. Now, what is important is, if it is a intraperitoneal lump, I hope you understand what is intraperitoneal lump. Intraperitoneal mane, if you think about the abdominal cavity, this is the vertebrae, this is the peritoneal area. So if I take my color pens, sir, this is the peritoneal cavity by the yellow color, and by the green color, this is the retroperitoneal. I hope I've made the things clear. If it is like this, then understand that if it is an intraperitoneal lump, the intraperitoneal lump is going to be more prominent and maybe mobile, but it is very difficult to see mobility in this state. Retroperitoneal lumps are going to be less prominent and decreased mobility. if you can see the mobility. Please complete the writing and then we'll talk. Have you completed writing, sir?
Yes.
Sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Completed.
Yes, sir, done.
Done now? Good. Now,
Yes,
if
sir,
you have
done.
completed this, so that means this is what is the common algorithm in all abdomen examination lumps, and in an MBBS exam, both in medicine and surgery, or in gynecology, or in pediatrics. If someone is giving you a case, long case, short case of an abdominal lump, this is the algorithm that I follow. History that is focused on organs, and an abdomen examination that talks about where is the lump. Now, how to make a diagnosis then? Very simple. The diagnosis then is based on what is the probable organ of concern. What is the probable organ of concern? Okay. Have I made everyone understand this part? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I have understood up till this part, the next part of questions is, now let us come to the first case of or abdominal lump. Case 1, as we have already started discussing, is a patient with a tube or a lump in the right upper part of the abdomen. Now, I have a little problem in saying right hypochondrium, because as I have told you in the last date, right hypochondrium is a very small area. If you think in your body also, the right hypochondrium, as you can see, is technically a small area. Whereas if I talk about the right upper part of the abdomen, I hope you will appreciate that this is a much bigger area for everyone to play. Hence, if you have read MacLeod's Clinical Medicine, medicine people are gradually changing them. Sadly, surgeons are not. And this is how we start describing. In an MBBS exam, both of them are meaning the same. So please don't unnecessarily get confused. Now, if you have a right upper abdominal lump, I would like to discuss about various organs, their differential diagnosis, so that when you get a case, you just have to fit this puzzle into what is what. And if someone is asking you a differential diagnosis, you just can fit in ki haan, sir ne ye bola tha. So let us start with the first one as a liver. Okay. Now, when you talk about a liver, remember that the first etiology is a benign liver lump. Now, benign liver lump very grossly can be classified into painful and painless. Now, when you talk about a painful and painless, the painful lumps are in relation to query hepatitis. That means if I take a different color, history, is the screen visible to all?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
sir.
Okay. The history then of a hepatitis is very focused, sir. What is the history that I am concerned? Either of waterborne hepatitis, that means the history about what quality of water he or she is drinking, what are the surrounding patients, or what is the locality that he or she is coming from, or it could be an intravenous injection or an IV drug addict or a history of a blood transfusion, or less commonly a history of a, what is that word technically called as when you talk about a sexual mode of transmission? What is the word that I have taught you? Oh, come on, man. What is the word that I have taught you in medicine? High risk behavior. Okay, medicine guys, particularly dermatology guys, are going to teach you what are the objective definitions of an high risk behavior, like having more than one sexual partner, then without using any protections, etc. So they are technically called as an high risk behavior. So remember that patients with hepatitis will have this in your history. Okay. Now on examination, so this is the history part of the story. Other history parts of the story can include patients having history of jaundice along with the hepatomegaly, and along with the jaundice, you have constitutional symptoms. What are the constitutional symptoms? They could be nausea, they could be vomiting, they could be rash, arthralgia, etc. So, sir, have you? If you tell me when you have completed writing, please.
Yes, sir.
Done, sir.
No,
I am
sir.
not teaching. I am not teaching you medicine. So you guys know 100 times medicine than me. So all the things that you can list up in the history part. When you palpate this patient, when you palpate, what is the finding that you observe? The finding that you can observe is that the liver is usually tender, firm. If the liver is firm, then the borders are sharp. If the liver is soft, then the borders are round. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Next question is, surface of the liver is usually smooth in hepatitis. The liver span is normally 11 centimeter. Liver span is increased in a case of hepatitis because the liver is enlarged. And this is more or less a quick summary about what will be your findings in an hepatitis. Okay. Okay. Understood that, sir? Good.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about this is the first part about painful liver lumps. Now, along with that, always remember one salient point with any liver lump is always remember 3 points that sir told today. What is the first thing that sir told? Please look for jaundice always. Point number 2, look for stigmata of liver disease. What is that one? I'm going to ask you this today. And point number 3, you are required to rule out ascites, again a part of a stigmata of a liver disease. So these are the 3 things that your examiner is wanting. It is unlikely that you get such a case in surgery, but again, you never know what can happen. Please tell me when you have completed writing.
Yes, sir, completely.
Done, na? Now, When you talk about painless, I'm going to talk about stigmata of liver disease, don't worry. When you talk about painless liver lump, then painless liver lumps, remember, could be now divided into again two parts. Number one, the painless liver lump could be initially painful, then now painless, or initially painful and painless, or I will say mildly painful now. These are typical cases of liver abscess that you get in exam, which are partially treated. Definitely, it is hoped that you will not be given a liver abscess without any treatment. And as I hope you have known, liver abscesses are usually two types. This is taught by medicine people. Those who have done the theory class on liver have taught about there are two kinds of liver abscess, isn't it? One is called as pyogenic and one is called as amoebic. We are not going to discuss because this is a long case in medicine. This is unlikely to be given in surgery ever, but this is how you should tell your examiner that a liver abscess can be an painless lump when you see the patient, because this patient has received lots of antibiotic, or in our real world, it is usually a mildly painful lump, not as painful as a hepatitis, but it is usually a painful lump, particularly an amoebic liver abscess. Pyogenic is more painful. So this is all about your approach to liver abscesses, because the reason about talking like this is in an exam, examiners will ask you your differential diagnosis. So please remember this way. This tells your examiner that your approach as a clinician, or you have gone to the OPDs and you know how to approach a patient. In a theory also, if you are given this question, I hope this is a beautiful way of writing a theory answer. Now, the next part is, can I proceed? Have you taken the notes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then the next case is, I have a painless hepatomegaly. I want to discuss the differential diagnosis. That's it. Just say the word to the examiner that I want to discuss the differential diagnosis of a painless hepatomegaly. Now, what are the differential diagnosis is dependent upon your gyan in medicine, not in surgery. To begin with, if I have a patient of hemolytic anemia, in your little clinical experience that you have, what is the common form of chronic hemolytic anemia that you have seen in medicine and pediatrics?
Thalassemia.
Very good. Now tell me, what are the character of the liver in a patient of thalassemia? Point number one, the liver is enlarged. Point number two, firm. If the liver is firm, what will be the borders be? Sharp borders. So consistency is firm, I've told you. What is the surface of the liver? Smooth. What is the liver span? More than 11 centimeter. Have you written this, sir?
Yes, sir.
Good. Along with that, in a thalassemia patient, what is the other finding that is always important?
Splenomegaly.
Splenomegaly. And the examiner will ask you, why did you tell this patient as a chronic hemolytic anemia?
Repeated blood transfusions.
Number one, very good. the repeated history of blood transfusion, pediatrics long case, very common. Number 2,
typical feces.
feces के पहले sir,
Frontal bossing of the skull.
array, what is the picture that I'm drawing? What is the picture that I'm drawing?
Pallor.
But
Spotted.
Family.
family history. This is a point that in pediatrics, it is requested that draw a pedigree chart. This is in pediatrics, to get a good marks, draw a pedigree chart, blood transfusion, and then talk about the particular phases. And if it is a child, then what is the most important thing is growth retardation. These are all important questions that the examiner is asking. Please tell me when you have completed.
স্যার একবার একটু উপরে স্ক্রল করবেন। Okay, sir. Sir, 11 centimeter, is it the greatest dimension or the measure from the subcostal margin?
I expect that this is taught in medicine very well, and hence I do not teach how to palpate a liver, sir. Liver span is, you go on percussing, find the area where the liver dullness appears. This is where the liver dullness appears on percussion. And then measure the lower border from the mid-clavicular line. Okay, this is X is called as liver span. Have you completed?
Yes, sir.
Good. Done, na?
Yes, sir, complete.
Good. So in an MBBS exam, this is one among the most common cases that will be there in medicine. 90% of you are going to get this case in pediatrics and maybe 10% in surgery, because this is one among the common cases. Surgery questions. If you are given a patient with thalassemia, why is this patient admitted in surgery? Quick answers. Array, why is this patient admitted in surgery?
Iron over
Splenomegaly.
Splenomegaly, so what? Splenectomy. Okay. Splenectomy for, someone said that, for
Hypersplenism.
hypersplenism. The next question that you are asked is, what is hypersplenism? I hope you have the answer to this. We are not going to discuss this. Next, any other indication of splenectomy? Yes. What splenectomy does is that splenectomy decreases the blood transfusion requirement, but does not increase the lifespan. I hope you know that from medicine. Okay. Number 3, a patient of, this is an honors getting question. Patient of thalassemia has jaundice. In surgery ward. What are the causes? Number 1, what are the jaundice that can happen?
So it can be all three,
Hemolytic,
hemolytic,
very
hepatic,
good.
and
It can be hemolytic, very good. Hepatic. So why was the patient admitted in surgery?
Obstructive.
Clear out the bile.
Okay. Completed, sir?
Hello,
Done?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, obstructive,
Is it clear, sir? Gallstones to CVD stones.
তো সিবিডি স্টোন হলে স্প্লিনেক্টমি কেন করব?
No. I asked you, why was the patient admitted in surgery?
ওটা 3 নাম্বার ইন্ডিকেশন না।
Why was the patient admitted in surgery? Oh, I should have not numbered it 3. This is creating the confusion. Very sorry. I should not have numbered it 3. Okay. So this completes your thalassemia as a case. Next one. Please tell me when you have completed writing.
Completed, sir.
Completed, na? Right. The second case of painless hepatomegaly, at least that you should know of, is hydatid disease. That means the liver is enlarged, and I will say that hydatid disease as a differential diagnosis. Hydatid disease as a differential diagnosis. Okay. Statutory wordings. Clinically, you will not diagnose hydatid disease. You do not have ultrasound in your hand. Clinically, hydatid disease is not diagnosed. What is the clinical finding? Is a liver enlargement, which is a painless liver enlargement. Okay. Please remember this part. Even if the resident is or the PGT is telling you the diagnosis is a hydatid bol de exam mein, do not fall in that trap. Do not fall in that trap. Please do not say the ultrasound finding. Examiners are extremely angry. You may not pass again, as I have said. I have seen examiners getting so angry that they are just given a 0 out of 40. So please do not say like that. Say that, sir, painless hepatomegaly, differential diagnosis may be hydatid. What are the liver characteristics? Firm, sharp borders, liver span increased, smooth surface, and please stop yourself at that point. Some people have read in books something called as a hydatid thrill, and they try to elicit that and do not understand what the hell is going on. Hydatid thrill is understood very rarely by placing 3 fingers over a localized lump. Okay. So if you are placing your left hand, understand the technique and then write. Hydatid thrill is a very rare thing that we have seen across with so many years of clinical experience with hydatid. Then if you understand that this is the hydatid cyst, that means to elicit a hydatid thrill, the first thing that you require is a localized liver swelling, which is very difficult to appreciate whether it is localized or generalized. And then you place your left hand. Remember that the picture that I have made is your left hand, not the patient's. And then with your right hand, you are going to percuss in this finger. Okay. It will be probably with the middle finger. If you see the impulse in the index and the ring finger, that is called as a hydatid thrill. Have I made you understand this point?
Sir, can you please repeat?
Requirement number 1, the liver lump is a localized swelling. Can you see in the picture?
Yes, sir.
Localized swelling. Requirement number 2, which hand have you given in this one? Right or left? Your left hand. Okay. Number 3, you are percussing with the right hand. And when you are percussing with the right hand, which finger feels the impulse? This finger and this finger. This is called as hydatid 3. Okay.
Sir, we will not be mentioning it in the examination.
No, sir. Absolutely not. Because the minute you mention it in an examination, examiner who was sleeping will now be awake and he's going to ask you, please show that to me. 99% of the chances it will not be a correct technique, and your good scoring, you are scoring 90%, immediately it will very quickly decrease down to 50%. So please do not let your private ignorance become public. So this is what we say in an exam. Until and unless you require the examiner to make you do this, do not do this. Statutory warning. Have you written this, completed writing this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. If you have written this, the next obvious question is, examiners will ask you, if you have said this are the differential diagnosis, what are the diagnostic points for a hydatid cyst? I've given you a case scenario in the PDF that you have. Number 1 is that the patient's occupation. Though I say about patient's occupation, hydatid cyst is now known to be endemic in India. If you have read in microbiology books that hydatid cyst is endemic in New Zealand and Greece, congratulations, we are also in the endemic zone. Okay. So it was initially seen in farmers, CPRRs, etc. But it is now pan-India. So number 1. Number 2, history of contact with dogs, again, which is only seen in 30% of the cases, but still it is worth mentioning that. Okay. Number 3 is clinically it appears as a painless liver lump. That's it. Number 4, there could be a history of a surgery in which the patient says that a round ball was taken out or a white colored ball was taken out, and then now this patient can have a recurrence and it may be given the recurrence of the case, which is a very bad case to have in exam. That means none of the diagnostic points go in favor of a hydatid. So that means clinically diagnosis is not done. Please mark my points, because across India as an examiner, I have seen umpteen number of students making this mistake. What is the investigation of choice to diagnose a hydatid?
USG.
Is an ultrasound abdomen. What are the findings? What are the ultrasound findings? Number 1, unilocular cyst. Number 2, which is not at all diagnostic of hydatid. Number 2, septate cyst. Like this, which shows daughter cyst. This is diagnostic. or separate laminated membrane. Which is also diagnostic. Please tell me when you have completed writing.
Done, sir.
Done, na?
Yes, sir, done.
Okay. Then, what are the supportive investigations that you have been taught in medicine to diagnose a hydatid? This is an honors getting question.
Cassoni's test.
Babari. Cassoni's test, remember, is before First World War. I think we have crossed 100 years of First World War. Please, if you are still mentioning Cassoni's test, I am very, you are, please go back in time machine. Okay, this is not done anywhere, even in Africa. Now talk about blood tests, which you go for something called ELISA for echinococcal antigen, not antibody, antigen, technically called ARC5. This is the blood tests which only is positive in 50% of the patients. Done? Hello.
Yes, sir.
What is the treatment of hydatid?
Albendazole.
Medical therapy as first line, which constitutes, very well said, albendazole for 2 weeks, followed by 3 options. If the size is less than 5 centimeter, albendazole for 3 months. Some people make it 3 weeks, not 2. The treatment of choice is surgery, and hence I am teaching you. The gold standard treatment is always surgery. In special circumstances, you are not going to tell this in exam. This is a line that you are not going to cross in an viva exam. I will again repeat. You are not going to say this in an viva exam. In a theory, you may write radiology. What is the treatment by radiology? Called pair.
Yeah.
Or if you are getting an honors, let the examiner ask you, is there any other way other than surgery to treat a hydatid? Then you may say medical therapy or radiology. What is the full form of pair?
Percutaneous aspiration,
Percutaneous.
injection aspiration.
Very good. Aspiration. Installation of scolicidal and re-aspiration. Bas. Okay. Completed writing?
Yes, sir.
Good. In surgery, you are asked, what surgery is done? Now, what surgery? There are many things to talk about surgery. The only thing that you are going to say is that I am going to do a cystectomy. Bas, this is your answer in an exam. Examiner will ask you, what are the layers of a hydatid cyst? I will use 3 colors to make you understand, so that in theory also, if you are given this question, the layer in blue represents the endocyst is equal to laminated membrane, and all the daughter cysts, brood capsules, etc. are known to come from endocyst. This is the infectious layer of the parasite. Everything that is happening is inside the blue thing. The black line that you can see in the picture is called as the ectocyst, is white in color and is removed at surgery. What is the surgery that is done? What is the surgery that is done? What is the surgery? Surgery is cystectomy. And finally, when you have a part of a liver that forms a third layer which is not removed, that layer in the liver is called as pericyst. So pericyst is a part of the liver. You are not going to remove a pericyst. You are going to cut through the pericyst, take out the ectocyst. Okay? Done?
Yes, sir.
Honors getting question. After you have removed the cyst, after the cyst is removed, what do you look for? What do you look for?
Any daughter cysts which have been scattered.
Cystobiliary communication. That means communication with the bile duct. And number 2, as you have very rightly said, any daughter cysts, either they have been spilled or they are in situ. So this completes your Viva answer.
How do we come to know whether it's a ectocyst or a pericyst? When a pericyst are রাখবো, ectocyst are removed করবো?
Sir, pericyst is, see the color of pericyst? The pericyst is a part of the liver. You cut the pericyst and then take out the ectocyst. Ectocyst is a part of the parasite. Pericyst is a part of the liver. So that is, liver is normal. So it is like cutting a cake. There is a laddu in a cake. So you have to cut the cake to get to the laddu. That is what is important. Okay.
Sir, what will happen to the endocyst?
Sir, the ectocyst is removed with the endocyst. It is like taking out a football. The ecto and the endocysts are removed.
Sir, if we remove the pericyst, what will be the problem?
Very good question. This is where 70% of your marks are scored. If you want to score more than 70%, we advance a little more. Any other surgery that can be done? This is the answer to your question. We can do cystoperi-cystectomy. That means the basic thing that you are intent on doing is, with a knife, you take over exactly the thing that I am doing. Did you see what did I do? I took out the cyst and the pericyst. This leads to more bleeding. As you can understand, you are cutting the liver, but decreased chances of a recurrence. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Done, na?
Yes, sir.
Good. So hydrated cyst is complete as a case. Kindly do not say Kasoni again. Kasoni is obsolete now. Kasoni is not done. Do they still teach Kasoni in microbiology?
Yes, sir.
Sir, actually,
Huh?
naকি surgery আগে we have to do Cassoni's test before doing the operation যাতে intraoperative কোনো hyperimmunity reaction না হয়ে যায়.
Oh my God. Really, they are probably 100 years back, man. Really, because we are surgeons, we have never done a Kasoni's which is strongly contraindicated. Do you know why Kasoni is contraindicated now? Why is Kasoni not done? Because Kasoni is exactly. Kasoni can lead to a very bad form of an anaphylaxis. Hence, it was done 100 years ago, sir, when they did not have an ultrasound to diagnose this one. So please, we have to tell our microbiology guys, please update yourself. Okay. So this completes your. Yes, sir.
সিস্টোপেরিসিস্টেক্টমিটা তো বেটার তাহলে রিকারেন্স কম
But this is not an MBBS answer, sir. The line that the Lakshman Rekha that I have drawn is where you have crossed 70%. 99% of your examiners have never done a cystopericystectomy. I am a trained liver surgeon, I know how to do, but your examiners have not done that. Kindly do not say answers that are going to put you in difficulty. Even my postgraduates do not know what is a cystopericystectomy. Please, in an MCQ, mark this as a good operation. In a Viva, do not say this. Okay. So complete with benign liver lumps. We have talked about benign lumps on all fronts. We'll now talk about malignant liver lumps. Now, when you talk about malignant liver lumps, now what are the two malignancies or malignant liver lumps and how do they look like? Now, when I have a malignant liver lump, remember that I have two pictures to make. One is a metastatic deposit, which is the more common one, and another one is a primary liver tumor. Now, for all practical purposes, primary liver tumor, I do not know whether you have been taught this in medicine or not. Were you taught about hepatocellular malignancies in pathology?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Good. So that makes the thing easy. What is the clinical profile of the patient with the hepatocellular malignancy? The patient has a history of cirrhosis due to any reason, not only alcohol. The patient has a history of stigmata of chronic liver disease. I'm going to talk with this very quickly. Then suddenly there is a deterioration of liver function, like jaundice increases, encephalopathy increases. Exactly, coagulopathy can happen. On palpation, you get to feel a cirrhotic liver, if you can at all feel a cirrhotic liver, because cirrhotic livers are shrunken. And in the cirrhotic liver, if the cirrhotic liver is formed with nodularity one area is hard, maybe tender, but again it is extremely difficult to tell clinically whether this is a cancer. So primary liver tumors, for you guys, if you are asked in a medicine exam also, surgery, forget that, is extremely rare, at least in India. Some countries it is different. In an MBBS exam, rarest of rare, do not diagnose a primary hepatocellular cancer or an HCC. If you have diagnosed even in a medicine exam, you are the platinum medalist in medicine. Things will not be very, very happy for you. If you have completed writing, please tell me. Form nodularity liver. Can you see the picture?
Yes, sir.
One part of the liver is enlarged, firm, nodular. Another part of the liver that contains the cancer is not firm, it is hard, maybe tender also. Complete?
এখানে তো লিভারটা সিরোটিক, তাহলে প্যালপেশনে লিভার নাও পেতে পারি।
Exactly, sir. I
Shrunken
told you
হবে।
this one. Liver may not be palpable. I told you, cirrhotic livers are usually not palpable. Presume that the liver is palpable, then. Okay? Done?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, in a metastatic deposit, the liver is going to look like, so I will go a little back. In a metastatic deposit, the liver is enlarged. There is an uniform enlargement in the liver. Now, it is not again for an MBBS, I say uniform because there can be left lobe metastasis also. The surface of the consistency of the liver is firm, non-tender. Surface of the liver is nodular. The nodules are hard and umbilicated. Oh, I should have said liver span is in more than 11 centimeter. Have you completed writing?
Sir, umbilicated মানে নোডিউলটা ওকে স্যার।
Okay. Done?
Yes.
Good. Now come backwards to the history. What are the common causes of such a metastatic deposit, or what are the various organs from which these deposits can come from? They can come from the colon most commonly. They can come from the stomach. They can come from the pancreas. They can come from other sites like breast, kidney, etc. If it is arising from the colon, what will be the history points? Number one,
constipation.
GI bleed, usually lower GI bleed, melena or hematochezia. Number two, constipation, very rightly said. If it is arising from the rectum, maybe bloody, diarrhea. And finally, you can palpate an abdominal lump in addition to the liver. We are going to talk to that very quickly. Have you completed, sir?
Yes.
Good. If it is stomach, we are going to describe that very soon. History of gastric outlet obstruction. Number two, upper GI bleed. Pancreas. If it is something to do with the head pancreas,
Obstructive jaundice.
obstructive jaundice, very good. If it is something to do with the body and tail, then pain, abdomen. These are those tumors that start with pain abdomen and then they metastasize to the liver. Patient has no other problems. And please don't say diabetes occurs. Diabetes does not occur. Okay, so this is all about what you are required to know.
Sir, stomach is the important character, new onset
Sir,
dyspepsia.
again, sir, stomach. This is not a stomach cancer class, sir. We will talk about stomach cancer class. If you are required to take a history, examiner will ask, what are the histories that you will take? Sir, you can elaborate. This is just a priming. You can elaborate more. But examiners will ask, what will you like to ask? Sir, colon, stomach, pancreas, other sites. Okay, right? Now, what is the
abdomen ta ekbar bolben buঝলাম
if it is arising from the body and the tail, that means if there is a cancer arising from the body and the tail, patient presents only with a pain abdomen and then they have a liver metastasis. So that means, see how dangerous these tumors are before the patient can understand the tumors metastasize. Okay. So the examiners will ask you, what is the treatment then? Not too many words for you in MBBS. The only word is palliation, which means pain relief. Number 2, if there is a jaundice, obstructive jaundice is relieved. Number C, chemotherapy. And at an MBBS, please stop at this point. If I go on, it is not nice. In an MBBS Viva, please stop at this point. Okay, I can go on telling many things, but stop yourself at an MBBS Viva. Bus. This patient is going to die in 6 months. Please tell me when you have completed writing. Done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. So this completes all kinds of liver lumps that you are required to understand in an MBBS. It took a long time. This will serve probably to complement your reading in medicine also. Whenever you are given an abdominal lump case in medicine, because liver lumps are very commonly given in medicine as a long case also. So I thought that I will be giving you an exhaustive list about how do we approach any liver lump. Now, the two last questions.
So the treatment part.
Treatment part is pain relief, obstructive jaundice, chemotherapy.
Thank
Now,
you, sir.
the last of the two questions before I go to the other point. Why did you say this to be a liver lump? Why did you say this to be a liver lump at all? Or why did you feel that whatever you are feeling there is the enlarged liver? The answer to this is the patient's history of the disease, whatever history is. Point number 2 is the lump moves with respiration. Have you written that, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Number 3, the dullness. Sorry. The lump moves with respiration. I cannot insinuate my hands between the rib cage and the lump. This is common for liver and spleen. Have you done this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 4, it is dull on percussion. And extends from 5th intercostal space downwards. Done?
Yes, sir.
This question is extremely important, so please give it 5-star rating. This is for all students, you have to know this. Why is this a liver lump? Last of the questions, and I will like to finish the liver.
Sir, third
This
point
is,
to explain korbe.
if I wanted to put my hand between the lump and the rib cage, I could not put my hands between the lump and the rib cage. That is something called as insinuate my hands. I wanted to put a hand between the lump and the rib cage. Okay, so that is something that is very characteristic of a liver and a spleen lump. Right. Now talk about the next one as what is the stigmata of chronic liver disease. I think this is taught details in medicine. Hello. Hello.
Yes,
Am I
sir,
audible,
yes, sir.
everyone? Okay, I'm audible now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Very quickly, what are the stigmata in CLDs? These are taught in medicine in hyper details. I am not a medicine guy. What is important is now I will start with the first of this. What is the picture that I have made, sir?
Jaundice.
Stigmatas,
Tell us.
jaundice. What happens to the hair?
Loss of color.
What
Alopecia.
happens to the temporal fossa?
Following.
Please
Not
correct me
audible.
if I am wrong. I have not said anything, sir. In alcoholics, you get a bilateral paratomegaly. In mouth, what is the thing that you observe? Fetor hepaticus. In neck and chest. In neck.
Spider and
Wow,
Spider
very good. So these spiders are very nice. Spider angioma. Oh, I forgot in the hand. Flapping remorse. Okay,
Palmar erythema.
very good. Palmar erythema. And in alcoholics,
Dupuytren's contract.
Dupuytren's contracture. In abdomen, ascites,
Caput medusae.
Splenomegaly.
caput medusa, splenomegaly, hepatomegaly, question mark, If it is hepatomegaly, what could be the surface of the liver? Surface of the liver is
Nodular.
nodular. Genitalia,
Testicular atrophy.
leg,
Chest gynecomastia.
sorry, just a minute. So I think all of these were taught in medicine, isn't it? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
know about
sir.
all of these, na?
Yes.
Very good. So these are all things that are asked by surgeons in exam. And if you feel that the surgeon does not know that, okay, please understand that surgeon does know that. And in a patient with an obstructive jaundice, if you have not mentioned this, things may not be very happy for you. If you have taken the snapshot of this picture, how long did I take in making this picture? Hello? How long did you guys take in making this picture? 5 to 10 minutes maybe? So
Yes,
if you are given a question in theory in medicine and surgery, or a short note in stigmata of a chronic liver disease, I will just make this quick picture. This scores 4 out of 5 rather than thinking about what to write. Believe me, this is the way to score a good marks, and you know all of these things. Please tell me when I can proceed.
Yes, sir.
Done, na? Okay,
Yes, sir.
good. So this completes all liver lumps in all forms and all shapes. We now go to the gallbladder lumps. Now, when I talk about a gallbladder lump, remember that gallbladder lumps I will very characteristically make, or I will make it very quickly into number one, or sorry, what are the common points of all gallbladder lump, or why is the lump, or why did you call this to be a gallbladder lump? Why did you call this to be a gallbladder lump? Now, point number one is it moves with respiration. Point number two, globular in shape. Point number three sides are palpated. What do you mean by this term? 3 sides are palpated. Please see the picture.
Liver का नीचे वाला median
No. See this. This is which side, sir? Right or left?
Left.
This is the left. This is the right. And this is which side that you are feeling then? The inferior side. Which side are you unable to feel?
The superior side.
Very good. Why did you, or why were you unable to feel the superior side?
It is behind the inferior lobe of liver.
Very good. Because it is attached with the liver. The superior side is not felt as it is attached with the liver. And point number 4 on percussion, what do you think will be your findings, sir? Is it dull or is it resonant?
Resonant.
Dull. Array. Gallbladder contains what, man? Gallbladder contains liquid, solid, something. It does not contain air, na? So if it is not containing air, it will be dull. And if it is dull, the dullness is continuous with what organ?
Liver.
Liver.
Very good. Dullness is continuous with the liver dullness. Very good, sir. This is what, believe me, majority of students, even my postgraduates, are unable to say in an examination. Okay? Have you completed, sir?
Yeah.
Just tell me when you have completed. Hello.
স্যার স্যার এটা ডাল হলো বুঝলাম, স্যার কন্টিনিউয়াস উইথ লিভার ডালনেস মানে স্যার যদি লিভারেও যদি একটা লাম্প হয় এবং নিচের দিকে, তাহলেও তো এটার সাথে এই পয়েন্টটা দিয়ে আমি কিভাবে ডিফারেন্সিয়েট করবো একটা লিভার লাম্পের সাথে একটা গল ব্লাডারের লাম্পকে? দুটোই তো
Very
ডাল।
difficult. Very good question. Extremely good question. Extremely intelligent question. What he is asking all is a very, very intelligent question. He is asking me that this is a patient with a liver. This is another patient with a liver. This is one patient with a gallbladder lump. And this is another patient in whom the liver has enlarged. This is technically called as the Riddle's lobe in the liver. And how do you differentiate the Riddle's lobe in the liver with a gallbladder lump? The answer to this is that the history that you get in this patient will not be typical of all the gallbladder disease. The history that you get in this patient, say for example biliary colic, etc., will be there. But as you have very rightly said, if I do not give you the history and if I directly tell you to see the patient, then sir it will become a very difficult thing, except the Riddle's lobe of the liver is very rare. I have seen only one patient in my life till now, honestly. But what you have said is a very good question.
লিভার স্টিগমাটা গুলো অ্যাবসেন্ট থাকবে।
Liver? Liver, sir, I could not.
লিভার স্টিগমা যেগুলো
Liver
ওটাও সব absent
stigmata maybe will be absent, definitely. Okay, chalo. So this is the first point. Why is it a gallbladder lump? Now let us talk about the diseases of the gallbladder lump, or Ramanuj's classification of gallbladder lump, you may say. Now, in a gallbladder lump, the first thing that I look into is very grossly painful or painless. Okay. If it is painful, that means the gallbladder lump here is painful lump. Okay. What is important is take a history of acute cholecystitis, then followed by fever, chill and rigor, plus minus mild jaundice. The lump is tender and temperature is raised. Can you tell me what is this situation, sir? Empyema gallbladder. Very good. Bas. Okay. Completed, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir, completed.
Completed now. If it is painless, look into the eyes of the patient. Look into the eyes of the patient. Why? Simple again. If the patient has jaundice, okay, if the patient has jaundice and no jaundice, so that means there is jaundice. The lump now can be of two types. One, the lump is smooth surface Okay, smooth surface, no nodularity in liver, or firm consistency. ठीक है, this is periampullary cancer. Please tell me when you have completed writing. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, done.
Yes, sir, complete.
Whereas on the other side, the gallbladder is hard consistency, irregular surface. What is the diagnosis, sir? Cancer, gallbladder. Hello.
Yes.
Done now?
Yes, sir.
Good. Patient does not have jaundice. Then the lump is smooth, non-tender. Okay. History of acute cholecystitis may or may not be there, but this is usually there. What is your diagnosis then? Mucocele gallbladder. Bas. Please tell me when you have completed writing.
Yes,
sir.
Done, na? Okay. Very good. If you have done or completed writing, then questions are, now definitely will not be talking jaundice now. Questions regarding empyema gallbladder, questions on mucocele gallbladder. Questions. Okay. Question number 1 is, what is the difference? I think you can tell that from your theory notes. Difference between an empyema and a mucocele. Number 2 is that, what is your approach to these patients? Now, when you talk about the approach to these patients, what becomes important is, in case of an empyema, the first approach is resuscitate, because the patient is in sepsis. Number 2, give the patient IV antibiotic. Okay. And thereafter, do an ultrasound and do a complete blood count. What do you expect to find in the complete blood count? Okay. And what do you expect to find in the ultrasound, sir, of an empyema? Number 1, impacted stone. Number 2, thick wall. And number 3, echogenic debris is equal to pus. We'll take a quick break, don't worry. Completed writing? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Done, na? Good. And
Sir, acoustic shadow.
yes, sir. Hello?
Sir, shadow. Sir, acoustic shadow.
Acoustic shadow is an impacted stone, na? The stone will have an acoustic shadow. We discussed with the stone in the last class, remember? So I have directly mentioned the word stone. I have not mentioned. If you want to draw that acoustic shadow, I will draw that acoustic shadow again. Wait, एक minute. Chalo. Acoustic shadow. Good. Chalo. Now let us come back to that, sir. Now, if sepsis is controlled, cholecystectomy, sepsis not controlled, then cholecystostomy or emergency cholecystectomy. Only question is high risk operation. Have you completed writing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The word cholecystostomy means if this is a gallbladder with the stone and the gallbladder is filled up with pus like this, the word cholecystostomy technically means to put in a pig tail catheter. Why a pigtail catheter? Pus is drained. Later followed 4 to 6 weeks later by a cholecystectomy. Please tell me when you have completed writing.
Done, sir.
Done, na? If you are given empyema as a theory short note, I
last
think
one
this
you
will
will
all.
do.
Sir, what have we done? Can you see the pus in the picture? The yellow colored is pus. If
Yes,
you
sir.
have given a catheter, pigtail catheter, pigtail because it looks like the tail of a pig, and then can you see what the pigtail is doing? The pigtail is taking out the pus. Okay. So if the pus is out, the sepsis is controlled. If infection is controlled, patient is okay, then wait for how long time? 4 to 6 weeks, and then do the gallbladder operation. Bas. This is usually done under an ultrasound guidance, and hence no operation. Ultrasound guidance, local anesthesia. Completed? Hello.
Yes, sir. Completed.
Completed, na? So this talks about empyema. Mucocele, nothing that great to talk about, except that mucocele needs an cholecystectomy, or I should say the word elective cholecystectomy. Elective cholecystectomy. Elective cholecystectomy. And what you are required to remember is the questions in this aspect are same in the gallbladder stone chapter. What is the preoperative preparation? What is this one? Except only one finding in a mucocele. If you do an ultrasound, this is the stone. Someone asked me, how do you identify a stone? How do you identify a stone?
Post-acoustic.
Reduced subject and acoustic shadow.
Number 1 is hyper echoic. Number 2, acoustic shadow. Number 2 is, unlike that of a gallbladder empyema or a gallstone, the wall is thin. Empyema, what is the status of the wall?
It was thickened.
Thicken. Chronic cholecystitis, gallbladder was thick. This is gallbladder wall is thin, and mucin is seen as hypo, or technically, just wait, anechoic, like water. In empyema, what did you get in this area? Empyema, what did you get in this area?
Ecogenic debris.
Equal to pass. Here, you do not get anything, anechoic appearance. This completes your discussion about gallbladders also. I think you have written long enough. Take a 5 minutes break. We come back with central abdominal and splenic lumps, and then go to lower abdominal lumps. Okay. It is 1:22. We'll be again joining by 1:27. We'll have a class till 2:30, and then. So take a 5 minutes quick break and then come back.
Sir?
Yes. 1:22, we come by 1:27.